right, so here we are with Alex Lopez, commercial fisherman and savvy entrepreneurial real estate investor. We're going to talk about commercial fishing in Alaska because that's what Alex does 4 months out of the year, and then the other 8 months he's a real estate investor. So obviously we'll talk about real estate. So Alex, thanks for sitting down with us today and talking with us.
I appreciate the invite, Jay. Glad to talk about commercial fishing and self-storage and real estate investing.
That's great. So a lot of people have seen Deadliest Catch, Alex, and admittedly, I'm one of those people where before we became very good friends, that was all I knew about the commercial fishing market. But you fish for salmon in Alaska, really from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Tell us what the commercial fishing market is like, and tell us what that day-to-day grind is like, living on a boat, fishing all day in Alaska. What's that like?
Well, it's certainly not a glamorous lifestyle. Pretty much wake up about 4:30, get the boat ready, start driving around looking for fish. Around 6 a.m. we're allowed to start fishing. We'll go fish all the way until 8 p.m. After that, we ideally have filled up our boat, sometimes even more. We'll deliver our fish to those Deadliest Catch boats. They're out there, they pick up our fish so that we can keep going. They take them to town for us. Try to go to bed as soon as possible after that because we're usually pretty tired. That can be either, 2 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep, hopefully 6. Wake up the next morning and do it again.
What's it like sleeping on a boat? I'm assuming you have some crew members with you and you're living on the boat. What's the living situation like?
Yeah, the best way I can put it is that you're living in a studio apartment with 3 other guys, and it's the smallest studio apartment you've ever been in. Where I live up top in the top house, I have my own space. It's probably about 5 by 8, so 40 square feet. And the boys live down in an even smaller space. And we have a communal area in the middle of the boat that's probably about 10 by 12. So we're talking less than 200 square feet of living space.
That is tight quarters, but it sounds like you've got a lot of loyal guys that work with you, and if they're willing to go through those measures to work with you, it sounds like loyalty's a key part of it.
Yeah, we try to bring the same guys back. People move in different stages of their life, so you have a guy for a few years and he goes on to something else. That's honestly the hardest part of fishing, is managing the crew and keeping everyone happy, because think about your bosses you've had in the past, not right now, but would you want to live with them for 4 months in a row and work with them all day long? It's pretty challenging.
I'll keep that answer to myself. So what's the craziest situation, or what's the most dangerous situation you've ever been in Alaska when you're fishing?
It's honestly hard to count, but growing up, I was a deckhand at 11 years old, and I'm 33 right now, so I've been in countless, but I think it probably takes the cake. In 2017, my boat actually sank, which I've come to terms with now. I can talk about it now. So it was not a great moment, but it happens. It's happened to a lot of commercial fishermen. Everyone was fine. It was just kind of a fluke accident. So.
And how many miles away from shore are you generally?
So we're generally not too far away from shore, but we're very far away from civilization. So we'll be 100 miles away from a town, but salmon generally run along shore. So we kind of stay near there. Now that's about 80% of the time. Sometimes we're 5-10 miles offshore.
And what size boat are we talking about here?
My boat is 50 feet long by 18.5 feet wide, and it weighs about 100,000 pounds.
So at the time of this filming, it's spring of 2022. You're about to go out for summer of 2022. What kind of season are you expecting this year? Is it an up year? Is it going to be a down year? And I guess the second question to that is, who's forecasting these models? We have economists, we have scientists, but who's predicting the fish forecast?
The first people that predict it are the Department of Fish and Game has biologists, and they will, based on past runs and ocean survival and climate change and water temperatures, they'll predict what we're gonna have. So what we fish for is pink salmon, and they return on 2-year cycles. So last year was a really good year across the state. This year, unfortunately, probably not gonna be quite as good a year. There's so many other broad economic factors happening right now that we're really in uncharted territory. So you have Russia. Russia is the largest producer of salmon in the world. So if they're not allowed to sell their fish, then that means that the price of American fish is going to rise.
So you do that 4 months out of the year like we talked about. Now you're back in Charlotte, you live here the other 8 months out of the year. You've been doing this for really your whole life, but you've been living in Charlotte since college, right? So the other 8 months, you had to figure something out to do with your time, and you decided to get into real estate. What really spurred your interest in real estate those other 8 months out of the year being in Charlotte?
Well, my original criteria is pretty simple. I just wanted a business that I could be in charge of that wouldn't fall apart when I was gone fishing in the summer. So couldn't have anything too labor intensive that I had to watch over people. So started researching real estate, self-storage, and honestly kind of just went headfirst into it and managed to splice together a deal on my own, found it, and made it happen.
So let's talk about that deal. You bought your first self-storage deal in Lenoir in 2015, but why self-storage? I don't think you knew much about storage going into it, so you've really taught yourself the ins and outs of this business, but why self-storage, and how did that first deal come together?
Yeah, so it's a pretty non-glorious story. I bought every self-storage book on Amazon, which was 6 at the time in 2015, so times have changed given that it's the darling of the industry right now. But I taught myself that, and it wasn't very hard to teach the basics, and I just said, man, I can really do this. So I started making calls, and I approached an owner, and they were at a point in their life when they wanted to move on and do something else, and I was there, and we closed in under 3 months. That first deal was around 13,000 square feet and 113 units.
So you've really, from that point in 2015, over the last 7 years now, you've really been focused on new development and acquisitions. Speed us up to date now with where you are from that moment in 2015 to 2022.
I've gone from blissfully ignorant to fairly competent, I would say. So I can now feel like I can go into pretty much any market and compete with anything. I've recently partnered with some folks at State Storage Group, and we're really moving forward full steam. Right now we have 7 properties and 1 development. I think we have about 385,000 square feet and over 2,200 units.
That's great. So what's on the horizon for you with State Storage and on your own here in the coming years?
Well, I was supposed to close a deal yesterday, but it got pushed to next week, so that's on the immediate to-do list. But honestly, you just have to be smart right now because there's a lot of lonely money looking for a place to be spent. We're battling REITs. Heck, we're battling Bill Gates. He's in storage now. So it's
good luck in that one.
It's competitive. So we gotta get out and be smart and not, you can't get caught in the exuberance.
You call it lonely money, I call it dry powder. So.
Yeah.
But I think we're both consistent in that there's a lot of that out there right now.
Yes, absolutely.
That's great. Well, Alex, thanks for sitting down with us today. Wishing you the best of luck in 2022 with your upcoming season, and really appreciate you taking the time today.
Thanks, Jay. It's been a pleasure.